Nina, thank you very much for coming here and agreeing to talk to me. We only met briefly for a few moments. It was very unique. We only met quickly at the breakfast and we had a nice, interesting conversation about spirituality and religion. And that's something that never happened to me. It was sort of special. So I was looking forward since then to continue the conversation and understand you better. So I'm very happy that you agreed to take on this challenge to have some brief words with me again.
You're welcome. Thank you for talking with me and for continuing this conversation.
Would you like to start by introducing yourself, say what kind of person you are and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. Why not? So where to start? So I'm Nina and I am Belgian. My mother is Belgian. My father is French. But I was brought up in Belgium. And I am currently a yoga teacher, but I have many lives already. I'm having also a project in Portugal, a guest house where we do some permaculture, yoga, some dinner events. Music is also part of my life. And currently also working for a ski school in Switzerland still.
A ski school?
Yeah.
So you are a yoga teacher, you have your project that I mentioned, and you still work there in Switzerland. How do you balance everything? Especially in two countries. So 2 jobs in 2 countries.
Exactly. So you could say I have 2 home bases, which are Portugal and Switzerland. But most of the time I'm in Portugal most of the year. And then when winter comes, it's really hard for me to stay, although I love the ocean, it's really hard for me to stay close to an ocean where it becomes gray. And then I need to go to the cold, then the snow is calling and I need to go to the mountains. And that's how I roll. I need the sun when it's summer, and I need the snow, and I need the proper winter when it's winter time. And how I do these 3 jobs is I know I have these 3 roles, and they kind of are separate, but they also intermingle or interfere a lot. And I learn from each of them. And they help me move forward and to do some things for other people. So I would say the baseline of the 3 jobs that I do is that I do feel I'm useful in all 3 of them, and I'm connected to other people.
All right. Which one of them do you feel that is your most defining job, or like where you put your first identity, let's say?
Now if it's now, I do feel as a person, as really me, is the yoga at the moment.
Okay.
Because the project I have in Portugal also defines a lot. So I would say the yoga and the project I have, but that is with my partner. So it is just me, Nina, and my main thing, how I see myself at the moment and what I work most with. And when I wake up and go to bed, it's yoga.
So you feel yourself as a yoga teacher first and foremost?
Yeah, or a yoga guide, maybe. I don't always like the word yoga teacher, but if you have to.
Oh, my bad. I don't know. I use teacher in my traditional sense, but okay.
Exactly. No, you could say,
So what is the distinction between a teacher and a guide in your interpretation?
So a teacher, well, you could say I'm a teacher, maybe not an instructor. If you see teacher in the sense as an instructor who just shows you what to do and tells you what to do, and you just follow whatever that person says. A guide, which I prefer, is that it moves beyond the class that you're doing, beyond those 75 minutes that I'm teaching. I want to be a support for the people that want to learn more about yoga, that want to include yoga into their daily life. And it feels like a connection, more like a community that starts to develop. So I want to pass on those things more than just to people that come to class. And that's
Right.
where I think I'm more the yoga guide.
So it seems to me that more than just focusing on those 60 minutes, 90 minutes, I don't know how longer classes are, it's just more about trying to change them as a person and maybe making a journey alongside them or pointing where that journey could lead to.
Exactly. Yeah. And growing with them. This is the most fascinating thing, is growing with your students at the same time. So you always stay a student as well. Yeah.
Growing, you mean by learning from them, by being their friends, by sharing happy moments with them and sad moments also?
Everything. Yeah, everything. Growing by learning from them for sure. Every class I have or every student I see, I learn from them. And then also the human part of it, the contact, the social things that come out of it. And at the same time that I always feel as well as a student. Like there's an exchange always. So yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. I think we're going to talk about these three aspects that you mentioned, your three occupations as a yoga teacher, as someone who has a house or has a house. Is that correct? Or someone who's hosting?
It's my house. Yeah, you can call it.
Someone who has a house and hosts it to other people and receives other people. And as a Swiss instructor, we'll maybe leave the house part for later. Let's focus on the yoga one, since you said that it's probably your main occupation right now and your main source of identity and meaning. And I would like to ask you, was it always like this? Like, was yoga always your priority and your defining guideline?
No, it's quite recent if you think about about my lifetime.
Because you're so old, yeah. Some things happen so far away.
Yeah, so I'm 32 years. Let's mention that. I'm 32 years old, but I had many lifetimes. So I have to say, as a kid already, I knew there was always something, some spiritual side of me. And I grew up actually as not as an atheist, but my parents were not religious. And I was living in Bruges. And Bruges is one of the towns which has the most, not the most, but in Bruges, it's really hard to go to a high school which is not religious, not a Catholic one. I think
Bruges in Belgium, right?
Yeah, in Bruges in Belgium, there are only 2 public schools or something. I'm saying just a number, but very little. Mm-hmm. So when I got to the age of 12, where I needed to go to the high school, I chose a Catholic school, although I never had any catechism at any point in my life. And I got very intrigued. And my mom was even afraid that I would. He thought I would like baptize myself or whatever.
Normally, it's the other way around. It's the parents pushing a kid into a Catholic direction. A kid saying, "Oh, this is stupid. It doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, I know. But it was just because I was curious and I didn't understand what that was all about and all those rules, and because I never had it in my youth, like it was very interesting. Mm-hmm. But I quickly understood I was not a fan of any religious institution. I really didn't like that, and I was very skeptic about it. Anyway, this was something in my life, and as a kid, I always imagined I was a witch and whatever. So, other things. Although my dad, who I love a lot, told me I should not think I am special. And I think he said it in a fun way, but it really stuck to me. So I really put everything into a box. And anything which was spiritual, I just...
Referring to the witch part in specific? That you are not special? Like, do you feel you could communicate with the spirits, or like in series or in anime, where there's this protagonist that as a gift and everything happens around him? Is that the sense of special?
Well, yeah, you don't know. I had a lot of fantasy. I still have. So a lot was just fantasy, but I will never know. Was there already something when I was a kid or not? No idea. Because that one remark really shook me up, and I had to grow up really fast as well as a kid. So my dad, he moved away from my mom and me when I was 10 years old. My mom had like 2 jobs. So the typical story where the kid had to grow up, and I was a lot at home alone. So all of these things were put a bit into a box. But I was always a fan of Harry Potter and any of those kind of movies. So that was the only thing that stick to me. Anyway, and then I got into sports. And I was snowboarding already at a young age, like always skiing. Since I was 3 years old, I was skiing. Then I discovered snowboarding and I loved it. And I went very fast into like the instructor part of it. So already when I was 18, I was training to be an instructor. Anything that, besides my studies that I was doing that we were talking about. So I did university. I was always in my free time going to the Alps and training and doing some competitions. But with all of this comes injuries. And and I quickly understood the importance of training besides snowboarding and surfing as well, which I do, that I had to keep my body fit. And so I got in touch with Pilates when I was like in my 20s. And then one day in a surf camp, one friend of mine, she showed me yoga. And she went to India, and she always went to India. And in our break, I will never forget this first class. Her name is Lucy Hoffman. I don't know where she is in the world, but I'm still super grateful to her. And Lucy showed me yoga, and I thought, what the hell is this? And I remember her asking me, did you like it? And I was like, I prefer Pilates and normal training.
You were bashing me earlier for not knowing fascia, and that's very marginal. And now you, after all, don't know yoga, and that's really bad because everyone knows yoga. So how is it possible that you didn't know yoga before?
That was like 12 years ago or something. Now yoga is much more popular now. And I knew yoga. It was not that I didn't know, because my mother was actually always doing yoga. But then when my dad went away, whatever, she crashed a bit and had to work a lot and didn't do anything any more of that. And now, just a little note, my mother is one of my diehard students. It's awesome.
The student surpasses the student surpasses the master. So like before you knew she was doing yoga, for you, she was doing just weird things in the floor.
So yeah. And
let's hope she's not listening. So just to make sure, like you were doing all this snowboarding and skiing, but and you said in Alps. In Alps is not in Belgium.
No. So every holiday I had, or even next to my studies, I was working to have money to go to the Alps every holiday I had. Yeah.
Oh, so this thing of working the holiday season seems to have started pretty early. If by 18 you already had this habit.
Yeah, it's true, because I didn't have, you could go on a holiday and just spend for 1 week, but 1 week was not enough. So how I did is I went every holiday, I went to the mountains and I was working as a snowboard instructor, and that was like free holidays kind of.
So like you used the money that you got paid to pay the rent in the holidays and to practice a bit, I suppose?
It's in the beginning, it's more like sport camps for children. So you just stay in the hotel with the children and you teach them during the day, and then in your breaks you go for a quick ride. But like you said, that was not enough for me. So then I ended up going a whole winter once I finished my studies to the mountains and started working really there and really living there.
Whoa, that's awesome. Well, how old were you when you had this first adventure, like full months adventure away?
I was 22, I think 21 already. 21, 22, yeah. Something. Yeah.
Impressive. So you got to know yoga. You found this thing that you didn't know what it was about. Then how did it develop from there?
Yeah, so from there, it stuck in my head, I was a little bit intrigued. I told her, no, nothing for me. But then every time I was somewhere and I saw yoga, I was like, okay, let's give it a go. And every time I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. This is really interesting. But this teacher is really annoying me. So what happened is I didn't find any teacher I liked. And I was also moving a lot back and forward, Switzerland and then Portugal, and everything became a little bit more hectic. So I thought, why not become my own teacher? And that's where I started doing a teacher training so I could do my own practice. And because I already knew I liked teaching, as I was a snowboard instructor, and I also did a teacher's degree in between everything. So I went to do my yoga teacher training, and then then the whole world opened up to me, and then I was like, aha, aha feeling.
Made sense. The haha was what exactly? Like just you being able to teach or to guide others? You being the cool teacher, the cool guy that you never found in others? Was it a
No,
haha moment?
me understanding that yoga was so much was like, the first time that meditation kicked in, that I really was like, wow, okay, this is what all the fuss is about, that meditation. The first time I got a deep relaxation where I really felt my body was healing by just being relaxed. Then in this yoga teacher training, I met an incredible woman. Shika is an Indian woman who also a very special person in my life, because she showed me, for example, hypnotherapy. And she made me understand the layers of our consciousness and our unconsciousness, and how we have injuries from ourselves, but even from our ancestors. And so all of these drawers were like being opened, and whatever I've put down into that box when I was a little child was like suddenly coming out. And okay, so there is something else out there than just the conscious mind that we have, and that we feel hungry and thirsty and whatever. There is something else deep down there. And and
that's wonderful. So it's more, you understood that it was more than exercise. It was maybe a door to some spiritual gate or some spiritual realm that was there waiting for you. I would like to talk that, but before we delve into that, because that's a topic that if you go into it and it's hard to stop, just before we go there, to contextualize, where did you do your yoga training? Because you mentioned India also. Was it there?
For me, it started in Holland. There's so many yoga schools out there, but I just chose one that looked very traditional and but still complete. So I went to the Netherlands for 1 month, but it was an Indian man and I think she's Swiss, the woman, a couple running Arhanta, and they have an ashram. An ashram is a place where you do yoga. You could call it like a yoga center. They had one in Holland and one in India, but my first training was just in Holland,
just in Holland.
From my home. But it was very intense, because then I did another training not long ago in India, and that was much more Western.
Than so you did go to India.
Yeah,
I knew you had to go there.
I did many trainings in the meantime, but I also went to India. Yeah.
How do you compare them? Like, is it the same in Europe as in India, or is it completely different? Like the mindset, the spirituality that you was referring to, the meaning of yoga besides just an exercise and as a mode of living almost.
You don't need to go to India to find that, because if I look to the organizations that I was with, I have to say that the one in the Netherlands was actually, how do you say, much more yoga than the one that I went to in India. And nothing against it, because I'm very grateful to Trimurti as well. But it was much more Western when I went to India, to that center. So if it's about the schools, I think it doesn't matter where the school is located. It's about the teachers that you get there, and the knowledge that's being presented, and then the lineage, and then many things I can talk about. And then if it's about India, going there and understanding where the culture comes from and where yoga is coming from, I do think that is important. But I was unlucky because I got there when the big pandemic started. So I didn't have the chance to travel there. Yeah, I got stuck.
Early 2020 then?
Yeah, 2020. And
it sucks.
So,
but it was very recent, nevertheless. I thought this was deep in the past, many years ago, as you said, and that's distant past, but just it was almost just 2 years ago. Pretty recent.
Yeah, like 300 hours training, but that is like, in yoga you actually have only 2 kind of levels, if you would say it like that. Mm-hmm. You have a 200 hours training. And then you have 300 hours. And in total, that makes like a 500 hours training. And I did want to gain experience before I went for that second level. And that's why it has been recently. But a lot of happened since then.
So what levels are there? You mentioned a few levels. Someone who wants to do a complete yoga training, what can he or she expect to go through then?
Easy. So you do 200 hours and then you do 300 hours. So in total, you become like a full 500 hours trainer.
500 hours. 500 hours, that's how many days? How many months? Just to put into perspective.
You can choose. Some schools do it over years. So if you do it every weekend or something, or some schools do it over a month. So you do 1 month of 200 hours and you do 1 month of 300 hours. That is very intense. That is
and those are like you do
those hours, they represent the amount of hours you get classes or practice or whatever. So you can imagine that 300 hours of classes in 1 month is a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot. So if a month has 40 days, that's like 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
How do you do 10 hours a day of exercise for
you
1 month straight?
In the morning and you go to bed at 9:30 in the evening.
Does those hours include like laying down, relaxing, just thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. No, but the meditation is part of it, and then there's some. Yeah, it's definitely not only practice.
And then some people fall asleep and they're like meditating with their eyes closed. Wake up 5 hours later. Yeah, 5 hours of practice. Good.
It does happen.
Right. So you do these 2 courses and then there's nothing more. You don't need any, there's no higher certification to pursue.
No, there is. So then there's the amount of hours that you've been teaching. So you become a 200-hour teacher plus teaching hours, or like I don't remember exactly how it's called, but like say I'm like, for example, a 500-hour teacher, plus I have passed the 200 hours of giving classes. So I'm like 500 plus 200 hours of teaching.
Do you personally count those hours that you teach?
No, but I do know I've passed the 200 hours because one day I was a bit calculating where I am. But you can. So there's a International Yoga Alliance, and you can apply and give in all of the teaching hours and stuff that you've done. If you want all of the official cards and stuff, you can do that.
So, okay. So for people that are listening and might want to pursue these, where would you recommend them to go? Based on what you've seen, based on your experience in Europe, based on your experience in India? Like if you had to start over, where would be your first priority?
Good question. I get this question so many times. I will just send them your podcast.
Not creative at all.
So if you start a training, if your first one, your 200 hours training, it doesn't, how would you say? I would say try to take something which is quite traditional. The course is intense. And for me, I think Hatha Yoga is a really good base to start with because it is kind of the base of yoga. And it doesn't complicate things. Because if you would start, for example, for those that know all of the different styles, if you start with Vinyasa Yoga, which is quite fast and it's quite complex already in the sequencing, in preparing a class. I think it's good if you're passionate about it, but I do recommend something more foundation wise, and look for a course that provides you 3 meals a day because you need them. It's not the time to go into glancing or to lose weight or whatever you have in your mind. No, you need the energy, so look for enough food. Have a look if there's definitely anatomy in the course, anatomy, philosophy, and that these things need to be in there.
Philosophy. Yeah. How do philosophy and anatomy relate? I think I know what you can say, but
they don't relate. They don't relate. I mean, there are different models of the course. So you would have like the yoga practice, the asana practice, the postures, and you need the philosophy as well to understand what you started, and you need anatomy the minimum of it to prevent any injuries in your class and to understand how the human body works. So that's really important. Have a look at the curriculum and what's in there. And then, of course, have a look if the course has been recognized by Yoga Alliance.
I mean, if it's certificated or not?
Yeah, although I have my question marks around Yoga Alliance, definitely. But yeah, it is still the only organization that checks it out. So yeah, that's it. And then 300 hours. Then once you become a yoga teacher, I would definitely say wait at least 1 year, 2 years, teach, go out, teach, and then start your 300 hours. Because if you start your 300 hours, they will not teach you how to teach anymore. This goes really into refinement, and then you can choose something which interests you, the style that interests you. And you definitely need some experience before you go there, because then it becomes so interesting. Like for me, the 300 hours was more an exchange between all different teachers and what they've experienced and how they use certain tools. And then it's awesome. But to get the most out of it, go out, teach, and then do your second level.
It might seem intimidating. That's amazing, but it might seem intimidating for people. Okay, I'm going to start teach now. Do you need any infrastructure? Do you need anything besides your wheel? Meaning, do you need to rent a space, rent a studio? Is it as simple as that? Just rent a studio, put some mattresses on the floor, and advertise? Or is it more complex than this?
Oh man, yeah, it's challenging because nowadays there's so many people out there. Millions
competition, you mean?
Yeah, I would say if you're intimidated, for sure, start by just teaching your parents, your friends, and do it for free for them. We always got like the advice of like start with free classes when you for people that you don't know. It's not very respectful for the yoga teachers that are out there and that are trying to make out their living and that are that did choose to go and do all of these trainings and have the knowledge. And then this is a bit the devaluation that we get of yoga classes and yoga teachers. But definitely go teaching your parents, your family, your friends, whatever, so that you start to feel confident. See if you can use a local club or your local school. Buy a few mats if you know that this is what you're going to do. Any little investment is never lost. And then it grows by itself. And then if you believe in it and you feel comfortable in it, it comes by itself and you will see where you need to go.
Is this how you started? Like your family and then your friends, and then you gain the necessary confidence and build up, and the friends talk to the friends. And instead of 2, you have 4, and instead of 4, you have 8, and so on?
No, for me, it was hardcore because before I even graduated, I already got a job offer here in town in Switzerland, where I still have the ski school. The tourist office was offering yoga classes in summer for tourists. And before I went to my course, they already knew I was going to do that. And so the moment I got back, like 1 week later, I had to teach to people I never knew. And I had to teach in French, and my course, my training was all in English. So it was hard.
But your mother was French, so you're probably fluent in French.
No, it's like this. When you do a training, you learn all of these technical stuff in English.
Okay.
And then this is new. You're super stressed because you've never taught any yoga to people that you don't know. And then I had to do it in French.
I see. You can always say, okay, guys, let's not talk. This is about feeling connected. So let's stay in silence and just follow along what I do. So I don't have to use all new terms.
True. But that was good because it got me out there straight away, and ever since it has been a great experience. And I still have some students from back in the day that are following me. And
I think that in this project, the best is not to have time to think. You know, like when you are in a cliff, high in a cliff, and you want to jump into the water, and you're like 10, 12 meters. You go there, and it looks so far away. It looks, and the thing is, the longer you stay there, and the longer you look to the water, the more you will be afraid. The more you'll be afraid. So the more time you spend there, the chances of you jumping actually decrease. So it's a bit like that. I also feel that the more we think about stuff and the more we try to rationalize, just the longer we delay it. So it's just better to do it instantly, get it over with, build the momentum, build the confidence, and apparently it has been turning out pretty well for you.
Yeah, it's the same with snowboarding.
Yeah.
When you're going off piste, I do some off piste snowboarding. That's what I love the most. So we go onto the mountain, and then you have that cliff, or you have that passage that you need to go through. The more you wait, the worse it gets in your head.
Well, in snowboarding, I will argue a bit differently. In snowboarding, I have 1 day of snowboarding in my life. So I would say that I wanted to go, but very slowly. Very slowly. Just take it very easy. When I started to accelerate, brake immediately. I don't want to break my ass or anything. So in that case, I respected it a lot.
In the learning process, for sure. No, that's true.
No, okay. No, that is wonderful. I'm sure that's pretty good advice for people that are looking to seek it. And so to recover the earlier topic about spirituality, because it's probably the most important and also some of the topics I am most intrigued about. Because for me, exercise started as a physical, and since I do exercise mostly by myself, I don't have necessarily a medium to access another realm or to share these experiences that you're describing that you had in your 300-hour course, that you went there and you exchanged with other teachers, and you probably, when you talk like this, you probably achieve things that you will never do it by yourself. So for me, as someone who is mostly exercising by himself, I'm very intrigued by the meaning of exercise behind the get fit, get healthy, and my meditation. Because I also noticed that, like when I'm exercising, I'm thinking about stuff in life. Even when you're doing like the reps and you're pushing it, but then when I'm actually in the rest times, I'm thinking about stuff, and I noticed that. And those times are important for me to organize my thoughts, because if I don't do that, I'm just in my computer looking at stuff, reading stuff, and moments spent reading is other words that other people write is time not spent organizing our own thoughts and processing and assimilating. So I'm very intrigued. When you were talking earlier about spirituality, about the boxes that you kept as a child and that you locked them and then you opened, was it any mysticism related to any religion in particular, or is it just a broader understanding of something greater than ourselves? If I may put it like this, I don't know if these are the right terms.
No, definitely no God or no religion. So there's a big difference between religion and spirituality. So for sure, I've never been a fan of the idea that there is this one God and this God determines everything that we do. And the idea of guilt is the worst idea ever. This is something we need to get out of our system, and I think this is a trauma that we all carry on from our ancestors and our grandparents and great parents and whatever because of religion. So this is something man made up. No, for me, there is an understanding that there is something bigger than ourselves. There is an understanding that there is free will and free choice, but that there's also a karmic way of things. So
karmic or cosmic?
Karma. Cosmic and karma. So two things. For me, basically, yoga is a philosophy, okay? And it is a guideline in my life to understand certain things. And to become the best version of myself, and to be a better human. About spirituality and unlocking the boxes and stuff, for me, what happened with the hypnotherapy with Shika was an understanding of past lives, whatever it might be. She always told me as well, don't define things too much, which I always keep in mind. So
define things too much, meaning like trying to understand them too narrowly, or
yeah, understand that there are kinds of vibes, vibrations, things that happen, unconsciousness that we have, but we don't have to necessarily understand what they are exactly to understand that they have an effect on us. I don't know if that makes sense.
Right.
So I like to say that they were past lives, but she would then look at me, you call them whatever you want, my dear. And I love that idea, like nothing is defined. And I think this is the most important thing ever. And what we're lacking maybe a little bit in religion is that stay open-minded. What means this for you can mean something else for someone else. But this understanding that there's something bigger, that there are forces. We have to know as well on a scientific point of view that this is logical. There are forces out there. If we think about us being constituted, 70% out of water, and if you see what happens when it's full moon, and that you have like the high tide and the low tide, which becomes so much bigger, you understand that a full moon has an effect on a human body. So you understand that the way that planets are around the Earth, they will affect us. So yes, there comes in things like astrology or the fact that there's a universe and that the universe affects us. So these kind of things, I found them as well in yoga and in yoga philosophy, which I am studying. We do need a little bit of studying as well. Like they help us to put our thoughts into order and understand, why do I think this, or why do I feel this, or
but is it not based on any preconceived philosophy, if I might say like this? Okay, because you mentioned that she said you feel whatever you want, my dear, so you do your thoughts, you interpret it the way you want. So it seems like a very free flow approach. Like she's not trying to teach you anything or to say this is like this. It's like there's some things and you make the sense that you make, and that's it. So was it very loose, the teachings?
But this is just this one person that I met, because I always want to be a bit careful, like with when you start talking about past lives. But maybe I should let that go and be just open-minded and just also tell what is my belief, maybe.
You have to be careful. Why? Did you do bad things in your past lives that you don't want to talk about?
I'm just saying, because I want to be very cautious and very careful, and I never want to say this is the truth, what I'm saying. But maybe in this conversation that we're having, I can let myself go a bit and explain what I've experienced.
Yes.
Does feel a bit like we had past lives, and there are things like karma, and there are people that come into your life with a reason. Like, why did we have that conversation the other morning? Why was I in that hostel with you at a table with some other people and we had the most amazing talk? Like, yeah, for sure, that's coincidence. But for me, it was a guideline, which you find in yoga, to understand that we have karma and that we have unfinished business with some people, and these people will come back into your lives and they help you move forward to become that better version of yourself, to become more conscious about life and the universe and whatever's going on.
That's wonderful.
That actually helps me.
Would you say in this case that these unfinished connections are connections from previous lives then?
That is kind of my belief, that we did meet each other in a previous life, and that now we meet again. And sometimes it will be briefly, sometimes not. And for sure, most of the people you talk with, you can ask them, there has to be one person in your life that you've seen and you think, oh my God, I know you from
yeah.
You know, you look in the person's eye and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
I have so many things I want to say because I relate to a lot of stuff. Let's start by saying, nice to see you again. Maybe we don't see for 100 years, but good to see you. Good to see that you're still doing good. No, just kidding. But really, I want to say so much stuff. And I'll start by this feeling that you mentioned, that when you look at some people, you know they are different. It happened to me when I was in Coimbra with a very good friend of mine. It was André. El Grande Coño. And this person is like, it was crazy at the beginning of the year. You know, it was an Erasmus. So there was this big Erasmus house that has 12 people living in there. And then each of those 12 people each have 10 friends. And the friends have 10 friends. So you know where this is going, right? So then when there was a party, the house is exploding with people. And it's one of the best memories I have of my university life. And like in the middle of this whole party, full of people I don't know from anywhere, you just see some people, and there's just this guy that I never see before. And the moment I look at him, I know, well, this guy seems pretty good. You know, like this guy, it tells me he means something to me. Even though I never met him before, I don't know his name, anything. I just look at him and see, this is a very interesting person right here. And then he went on to become my best friend there in Coimbra. And I think about it and, okay, to which part of it was it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Meaning that, okay, there's this person. I think I want to be his friend. I don't know because I don't know anything about him, but I think I want to be his friend. And because I want to be his friend, I actually become his friend and a good friend? Or was some of it already set in stone or already predetermined to happen? It's mystical in a way.
It's intriguing and it's what I love. This is what keeps me alive. This is what keeps me passionate. And it's the truth. I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's also what has to happen will happen. I have to say, sometimes I wonder if I look back now, like everything has a reason. Like for many years, for example, I was also wondering, I told you about the yoga, I didn't find my teacher, okay? So I became my own teacher. But then still I was like, man, that's not normal, because it's not normal in yoga not to have any, not normal, it's a bit strong to say, but it's good to have a guide, a master, a yoga guide, like I like to call them. So I started meditating, and that's the self-fulfilling prophecy that you see. I was asking, okay, can you please, who is my guide? Can I have a yoga guide, please? Who is my guide? And then you go to, like, I was invited in one yoga retreat as a drop-in. Drop-in means that you just go for 1 or 2 classes. You don't go to full retreat. You can have that with yoga classes. And I was invited by this woman, and it was an Ashtanga retreat. And Ashtanga is a very hardcore yoga, and I was very skeptic about it because I'm a hardcore person. So I thought yoga needs to find balance.
You are not hardcore.
I am like a very fiery person, and I will always push myself and very competitive. And Ashtanga yoga is something that wakes up your fire and keeps you moving. So I thought, okay, this type of yoga might not be good for me, but
Why not? But that seems exactly what should be good for you. Like you say, I'm a fighter, I'm a strong person, fiery, and this yoga pushes you. Isn't that good?
So you would say no, because you need to find balance. If you have too much fire within you, for health reasons, you need to calm down that fire. You need to do restorative yoga, and you need to find breathing, calming, rooting. If you're a lazy person, and this is not person, this can be some periods in your life. If you are tired, lazy, lethargic, you need to go do fiery practice so that the fire gets on and you're balanced again. So you would say, if you're then we go really over.
So you find the opposite of what you are, to find that balance and not just reinforce the positive feedback of however you are feeling in the moment.
Yeah, it's not bad, but you should balance it out. And especially if you're a very competitive person, if you're going to do even more things that light on that fire, then you end up in a burnout. Like, that is how it happens. So in a base, that would not be good. But I did go to that retreat and to those classes, and that's where I met Chico. It's a teacher, and I had just one class with him, but it got into me, like the Ashtanga, and then, but not Ashtanga, but more this teacher, and I was okay, whatever. Then I was 2020, the pandemic happened. I went to India, came back from India, and suddenly all teachers were teaching online. And somehow this Chico teacher was also starting online classes. And thanks to the pandemic, he started online classes. I could follow the online classes and find my master. So one day I realized, oh my God, this was the guy that I was asking for. And I needed a whole pandemic to make this happen.
Okay, the pandemic has been so destructive to so many people, but it seems that it kind of worked for you in a way, or it at least it created an opportunity for you to find something good in it.
Well, sure. And for a lot of people, the pandemic really shook everyone up. It made such a huge change in so many lives that I think it was necessary. And for this consciousness, like I was saying, how many people now started doing yoga at home, or how much more are we talking about mental health now because you were sitting at home? And I think this is a very good thing in society. Luckily, balanced out the bad things that go along with this pandemic. Yeah. But anyway, that's a different topic.
I'm going to make you a deep question, if I may.
Yeah.
But everything we've been talking about is super light. It's just everyday coffee chat. Like we've been talking about things that happen for a reason, either whether it's meeting people or a pandemic that creates opportunities. What is your interpretation of fate? If you think that it even exists to begin with, but if like the moment we start speaking about earlier lives and connection between earlier lives, which is actually very interesting as well, because I've been introduced slightly to Indian philosophy. And one idea that I was told that I have is that I believe that you live, I think it's 9 lives. And then there are ways to calculate on which life you are. Do you know about this?
Only 9?
I think so. Do you want to try to calculate which life you are on? I think you can do that.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I haven't heard about it. You say it's Indian philosophy?
Yeah, let's try to do that. Okay, cool. I think it's Indian, yeah.
I do know that so what
and
they
that's like,
believe,
and this is something I told, and they tell me like I'm on my 8th life, I think.
Oh, you're almost done.
I'm almost done. And the thing is, the kind of life you are on, it affects the life you have. So I think that was people that are on their last life are usually more wise or like more accepting of stuff, and people from earlier lives are more impulsive or whatever.
But I was trying to. That doesn't seem a lot.
So I'm kind of surprised that you didn't know about this.
No, I didn't know there were.
Okay, let's see. You are seeing this, right?
Sorry?
You are seeing my screen, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I am.
You want to feel this?
26th of April, 04.
04.
And 1989.
Is this? I'm not sure if it's this. Okay, I've never used it. I've always had people tell these things for me. Maybe it's not this.
Destiny numbers tree. No, this is just something different. Indian. This is Indian numerology.
Indian numerology. Past life calculator.
Never heard about this.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll do it this later, not to waste too much time now.
You can send it to me. I thought
you were going to find it like first hit that you spot on, but yeah, and it's pretty interesting. But so again, coming back to topic, this idea of past lives is not so new, so to say. So I mean, it's part of Indian philosophy, I think. So how exactly is your interpretation of fate in this case?
So you're combining fate with that karma that I was talking about. So past lives and karma. So fate, but fate can be interpreted in 2 ways, eh? So because if you think about fate, you have to trust into life, or again, that there are some things that we don't have any control over. So you're leaving it open to me what I believe. Okay, so there are 2 things. So there's fate.
I'm going to let you talk without interrupting. I don't want to influence your opinion with my ideas.
Okay, so Fate in a karma point of view. There's unfinished business. I strongly believe in that. And I believe there are people in our lives. A very important example for me is my current partner, boyfriend, who I have the project with. There is reasons why these people come in our lives, and there is a continuous balance. Again, the word balance, that has to be found. So meaning that you have done something for them, you helping them to move forward, and they're helping you to move forward. Sometimes in a positive way, sometimes it can be really difficult. But it has always the idea that there was something before that you guys were living in a past life, and that you haven't finished, and that you keep on going for that. They say there's a reason that your mother is your mother, and your father is your father, and your brother is your brother. There's a reason why these people are still in your life. And the closer these people are, the stronger the unsolved business is. And then even the stranger that you meet in the hostel and then you have a conversation with has a meaning as well, but maybe it's not that of a big story that needs to be finished, but still it's something to help each other. So there's this huge connection of people in your life that all have a meaning. And for me, that is fate. In that sense that, yes, maybe we don't control who we meet in our lives and they just come in. But then I also have still the idea, because of course I'm Western, and I do believe we have choices. I do believe we have choices what we do with it and how far we want to go in those connections. That for sure. And then I also believe fate as having as a trust thing, trusting in the flow of life, in the happening of events.
What you mean, like you know that things happen, but there is some reason behind that, something that, but you don't really need to know it, you don't need to define it, you just trust the process? Is that what you mean?
Exactly, yeah. Trust the process, things come into your life, and that wherever we are where we're meant to be. Even though I do believe in the fact that we have choices. And that is why we have all of these lives. That's why I say 9 lives seems to me maybe not a lot, because maybe there's no wrong and bad choice, but maybe this life I took choices that will take me away from the evolution that I need to do to come to the full consciousness. Because that's, in the yogic philosophy, that's where you want to go. You go to samadhi, you go to the full awareness that we are one with the universe. But before we get there, we need to go through a whole process.
Is that the nirvana?
Yeah. And that means that we're finally liberated from the karma life where we keep on coming back to solve or unsolved business.
So is karma by definition, not by definition, I don't want to use the word definition by, so let's say, is karma by a baseline interpretation a bad thing only? Is that good karma?
No, for sure. It's not a bad thing. It's amazing. For me, it's a good thing.
Because for me, you're like, when something bad happens, you're like, oh yeah, it's karma, fuck you.
Yeah, that people say that. No. Karma isn't actually, karma means it's an action it's a reaction on an action. So action, reaction. This is karma. So you do something and this has a reaction, and this has again an action and a reaction, and it's a snowball effect. And it means that we will keep on coming back and we will keep on learning until we come to that stage where we get enlightened. Enlightened meaning that we understand that we are one. Or like a very big word. We are God. We are just one with God, with life and love. But there's difference in being able to say that out loud and understanding that on an objective matter, or really living it. And until we come there, we just keep on having karma and we keep on having new lives until we finally get it.
So it seems like karma is a pathway to somewhere.
Yeah.
If that somewhere is understanding, is the connection that you say that we as a human species, is we as parts of cosmic beings, as we as manifestations of life, which seems to be so rare in the universe. It seems like a miracle. Because we don't know about, we've been searching for so long and so hard for alien life, for signs of microbia, technology, and we didn't find anything. Begs the question, are we alone out there? Are we special? Are we unique? Are we rare? We don't know those answers. But maybe we are, or maybe we're not. I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, I need to have the answer, and that's why we have faith. That's why we have to trust just in life and in the universe. In the end, because sometimes I can get depressed by those thoughts and then just think, oh my God, where are we going? But then I just think we can only be the best version of ourselves, but never seeing the human race as something superior. That though
superior
is
to the other beings in the world, like animals, plants.
We are one. We are one is really the main idea. We are one with life, with the tree, with the birds, with the animals, with the earth, with energy, with the air. I think that is really important, and I think
No, I agree completely.
More people understand that it's the solution to everything.
I agree completely. I think it's that arrogance to think that we are special, we are different, we are the end product of nature. Since for a few centuries now, we have had this understanding of history as a linear thing, meaning that you start somewhere below, like a microbe, and then, or paper, or clay, or metal, or iron, and then you slowly and steadily progress towards a higher point of civilization or higher point of evolution, the same way that we came from monkeys, and then we evolved, and then our brains got bigger, and now we're these amazing creatures that everyone knows that we are. So like this linear interpretation of history didn't really play out like this, especially when we think about societies and civilizations, they come and go all the time. They rise, they fall, they rise, they fall. It's not, and technology is not linear. And I think this has blinded us to the understanding that we are not the end product. At the most, we are just middle stones or stepping stones towards something else. And just because we evolved in this way doesn't mean that we are unique, or we are unique, because we are unique, but we are not better than the others. And we have been so arrogant, and it's fascinating to me to discover the new science about trees, for example. That trees, they communicate with each other, they feed each other under the ground, and they are profoundly intelligent and adaptive beings. And this was not known to us. We just thought a tree is a tree that is out there. We never thought of the tree as a deeply intelligent being, intelligence in the sense that it solves the complex problems that it faces. So, okay, we maybe not so intelligent anymore. We just not used to, or actually we are just biased to look for forms of intelligence that are like our own. And we are not humble enough to say, okay, maybe there's intelligence in another ways that are not our neurons. And it has been a humbling process as well for me to get to know this.
I was actually thinking about, because you're saying that about the intelligence and stuff, and then you stopped about it because you said, so I'm going back to belief system and spirituality connected to your movement, because you said about different systems of understanding and communicating. That is super interesting that you from calisthenics that you're doing, that you already realized that through your own practice, which is not even yoga, asana, yoga movement.
You mean what? That I meditate or what? What do you mean exactly?
That you did understand that the movement was helping you to structure your thoughts.
Maybe, I don't know if it was movement. Maybe it was just idle time, Maybe it's just the fact that I was there just stretching or just not doing anything. Just I don't have any gadget in front of me. I don't have any book in front of me. I'm just alone with myself. So I don't know if that is enough or if it's just a movement as a reason for that to happen, like as a facilitator.
Well,
I'm not
about
sure.
connection and interpretation and stuff, it is proven though, if we work consciously with our body, which you have at
Calisthenics.
aesthetics,
It took
is
me like
definitely
3 months to learn the word. So no worries.
it is an awesome practice as well, because you need to be super conscious about the movements that you're making, same that we have with yoga practice. Yeah, when we start doing that, that's what I try to do at my practice, and how I get people into that. I do have to start from the body awareness kind of part. What I notice is when people start to become aware about their bodies and how to move and how to breathe, something happens in the brain as well.
Maybe.
So
I don't know
yeah,
if anything happened in my brain, because it's hard to tell the difference from the before and now, It's like I think we always assume that what we have has been there forever. And we are somehow blind to how we were in the past or to how special what we have is. I don't know if I'm making myself understood, but what I mean is that, like, I have what I have now, my brain structure, whatever, my flexibility. And for me, it's very hard to go back and ask, was it like this always? Or did I gain something? Because I don't know, it's like the same way when you are with your brother every day when you are teenagers. And one day you guys are 1.5 meters, and the next, and 10 years later, you are like 180. But on the daily basis, you never notice the growth. You just realize, hey, man, we're tall now. How did we get so tall? And I think with many things in life, is the same thing. You don't notice the small changes. You only when either a long time passes, or either when someone that someone that is new, someone that you didn't know about, comes to you and you say, hey, man, you are like this. And you're like, wait a minute, am I? And then you realize. So in my case, I don't know if this awareness is like something special. I don't know when it happened, but I've noticed that, for instance, when I started to do handstands, and after a few months, I was very bad in the beginning, and I'm still bad, but I noticed that a few months in, I started to feel my muscles. It's not like when you just walk, it's just when you are doing such a thinly balanced that everything needs to work together, from your arms to your core to your legs, where you point your toes, where you put your pressure, if it's in the thumbs or in the tips, everything starts to matter. And I started to feel my whole body. Like I started to notice my center of gravity. If I shift a bit more here or if I shift more to the right, and I immediately felt the effects on it, on the balancing. And then I started to really be conscious of the kind of pressure, of my alignment of my back. And I don't know if that means anything. But for me, it was a teaching experience. I became aware of my body. And then even when I walk or when I do exercises, I really feel my muscles,
Yeah. So you become aware about your body. Yeah. And at that moment, nothing else counts besides that body. If at that moment you think, what am I going to have for lunch? You're full. You cannot think about what you're going to have for lunch.
Yes.
So that physical aspect that you're working on is working on the brain, because at that moment your brain is focused and is on one point, and that is all what meditation is about, for example. Because then when you can manage to do that while you're in movement, then the next step is just to do that without being in movement, and knowing that you can get your brain focused on one point and nothing else. But because you were already doing it in that particular thing, you were just into the movement and focused just on that, already the brain structures gets used to that focus, and it becomes easier then to use that same technique in different aspects. That's why they are.
In other words, I will carry on this to being able to reach this state when I'm not exercising.
Well, I think this is part of spirituality in that sense that because you're working on a physical aspect and it makes new brain structures in your head because you need to create that focus and that body awareness. I think something does happen and gets activated, and you do become, the consciousness is becoming bigger. And then of course, if you then want to work deeper on that, you take that off the mat or off the physical practice and go work on it in a mental stage.
I never thought about it as a spiritual experience or anything like that. It's the first time I have to.
I want to get it out, because spirituality has been seen as something way up there, but it's so something down there. It's so something connected to the ground, to our day-to-day life, to how we are present in our lives and how we can get focus into our lives and how we can extend our consciousness. And for me, that is spirituality. Being aware about every little muscle, about every little being, every little sound, smell, and person. Yep.
No, that's amazing, and that's beautiful. And I'm trying to gather my thoughts and try to make sense of that, since I feel that today we are so distracted from everything. Meaning we're distracted from the cosmos because we have so many lights in the city, we don't even see the stars at night. And if you compare that to, for instance, the experience of a caveman, the ancestral man before electricity, there was no light, there was nothing. You just go out at night, you go out of your tent or go out of your cave and you probably look at the sky and you probably get amazed. Like you just see the beauty of the natural world, and how can you not feel impressed at your core, at your soul? And then we not only now have lights in our city, so we don't really see the stars. We don't see that we just one spot and among so many, but we're also always holding something, always a phone, always a book, even a book. We're always with someone else's words, with someone else's, in someone else's mind. And I think we don't just take this time to, as you say, maybe the fact that we don't take our time to just be is the reason why we feel so disconnected from everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's true. I think you're completely right. Come to Alentejo, where we have the house. There okay. You can see all of the stars.
Really?
Yeah. It's amazing. Alentejo has been known for that, to be one of the places in Europe where you can see the most stars and there's the least light pollution.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. I've been to Alentejo like only 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, and it's really awesome when you go outside, and yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Is that the reason why you moved there?
No, we moved there because of surfing originally. And we actually wanted to build a place where a house with a vision, a house where we can actually, what we're doing today, where we can have these conversations with people and show people that there's a different way of living possible. But that was more in a sustainable idea. So how can you make small changes, and that makes a huge difference for the planet and the world. That was the idea. Yeah.
Okay, let's start maybe with the name. The name is Casa Maono. Maono is not your last name, so does it mean something?
Yeah. So Maono means vision in Swahili. So okay, Swahili, I don't have any connection with it, but at the same time, Moana is the goddess of the ocean. So it's kind of a fun.
It's a play on the word.
Name. Yeah.
It's a typo. Your house name is a typo.
Yeah, I never thought about it. Actually, that came later, but we really just were looking for a name that means vision. And we didn't want a Portuguese name because Maono goes much further than just the house that we have there in Portugal. When we were still living in Switzerland, we were organizing already movie nights about permaculture, for example. And I started using the name Maono for my yoga classes. So it's broader. We want to take it out of the house as something more bigger.
Does this vision relate to your initial idea of being a guide? It's like since you say use the Maono in your yoga practice, so is it related to being this guy, this vision that you strive for, something further away?
Yeah, no, it's more. I'm down to earth, girl. I'm not. I don't. I'll really like to have both feet onto the ground. Although it's speaking a lot of spirituality, I have really, yeah, not many people see me like that. No, Maona is more that I have yoga with a vision. Means that I have this passion of making people aware of their bodies. That was like the initial plan, and then to make people understand that the importance of taking care of your own body and mind, and then more and more making people understand the importance of loving yourself so that you can be kinder towards others. So yeah, I kind of see my yoga a little bit with a mission and a vision.
Well, that's wonderful. So what is the main goal for the house? Because I think you mentioned permaculture as well. So it's
Yeah.
not only about yoga.
No, not at all. No, yoga came later. It's a house where we wanted to share our passions and our ideas. So my partner is into permaculture, which is a sustainable kind of philosophy. I would say really philosophy, because it goes beyond just an organic garden. It goes about reforestation. It goes about community, local markets, so local consumerism. Concrete, we have a garden that we made in a permaculture design, and we have planted over like 500 trees on only 3,000 square meters. Yeah,
big place, huh?
And yeah, it's not so big, eh? 3,000 square meters is quite small for a permaculture garden, but it's
like, I'm Portuguese. Tell me that in the number of football fields.
It's not even, what is it? 1 hectare is a football field, so it's not even
so.
that. It's only
is it?
Yeah, it's only a fourth of a football field. So
that's pretty small then. I thought it was like a big.
No. For 500, it's super small.
How do you fit 500 trees in 1/4 of a football field?
Well, I have to be honest, a lot of them die. Okay, so we've planted over 500 so that at least half will survive, because Alentejo has a big water issue. There's really not enough water.
Yeah, with the dam, even with the dam, is there still an issue?
Yeah, because the dam is being used for the agriculture, for all the stufas, greenhouses that produce all of these berries for the north of Europe. So don't get started about that. But it's a big mess.
So what you get is residential water, and you don't get industry water, so to say.
No, where we live, no. In the villages, yeah, you can. But we have like rainwater that we catch. We have a well, and we have a borehole. And so we have 3 systems. And our kitchen water is going back into the garden, is being filtered. And we have an outside shower. Of course, inside the house, we also have normal bathrooms, but we do tell people that we have an awesome outdoor shower, which has warm water, and it's amazing. And that water goes straight into the plants.
Oh, that's wonderful. Because that's the point about permaculture, right? I think I've watched some YouTube videos about it, but I got the idea that it was integrated systems, so that there is no waste and there is like maximum utility from the rainwater and the cycling.
Yeah, exactly. So this is, and the idea is that everything becomes sustainable, and it's a lot of work in the beginning, but you will create that garden in a way that the plants are helping each other. You use nature's forces or nature's idea or nature's natural design to make it work. So that's the idea.
I think that's a fascinating approach. I believe that in the video I watched, there was a guy, it had a very small garden. It was a normal house garden, like really, really tiny, but he grew a lot of stuff there. And things that you grew there were fish also. And he had a tank with fish.
Yeah,
aquaponics. What?
Aquaponics?
Aquaponics, exactly. That was it. Aquaponics. And I think he used like the water from the fish, because the fish poo in the water, so it has nutrients. So he used that water to feed the plants and to keep it growing. I was like, whoa. It's very impressive.
It is.
Because things like, if you think about it, you have so many resources in nature. and the resources are there. It's just about of finding or designing a system that maximizes the utility from that and to not waste.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we are lucky, like a lot of more and more people are starting these kind of projects as an awesome community, especially where we live, and we see everywhere in the world it's becoming more and more popular. And we see with the house, for example, we leave just buckets in the showers of the guests. So we are a guest house. Yeah, we have these 2 rooms that we rent, and then we have a teepee in the garden. And just leaving a bucket in the shower to show them, listen, if you're waiting for the warm water to come, just put the bucket underneath and use that to flush the toilet, or bring the water outside on our terrace and give it to the plants. And then we had so many people texting us after that they started doing the same system in their houses when they were back home. And it makes us so happy. These are the little things that we wanted. Or we tried to do dinners as well with our vegetables from our garden, and also we work with a cooperative. And yeah, so our partner is a cook, and then we have these big table nights where then, without us doing anything, these conversations come on the table and people are asking questions. Or then we have the yoga retreats, and then the yoga retreats become much more than that, because it's not talking all the time about yoga, because it's not all about yoga, eh? And then for sure, talk about where the ingredients are coming from for our food, and or we can address the water problems, and then people get interested. We try to be as down to earth as possible, not being very extreme and live in the forest far away, and because then you can't make any difference in the world. But as we try to keep one foot in normal society and one foot showing how it can be different.
I think that is the way to go, because if you were to say that we should go back to the wild and each live in its own cottage in the forest, that will not be reasonable, because most people don't have the luck or the opportunity to do that. So if you really want the planet to change and our societies to change, now we consume and produce food, I think we have to find ways that we can all bring to our own places, even if we are in the city, that these small things, the water, or just growing some vegetables in the backyard, or if you don't have a backyard, in the balcony, focusing on things that everyone can do. So just maybe more principles rather than actual projects, like just having small steps. And if you have a bigger place, you take bigger steps, but that's it. So is that the food that you use? Does it all come from your garden?
No, so we have a vegetable garden in winter, and then in spring. But then when summer comes and there's not enough water, we don't plant again. You could in Portugal all year round have vegetables, but then we decide to use the water for our trees, because the trees get priority. Okay. Because we work with this awesome cooperative, like there is like the whole system that works together. Like we are part of an association, and this woman with her husband, they grow food for like around 40 families already. 40. So we have a vegetable basket anyway through them. And then in the same cooperative, we have someone who makes cheese and bread, and we almost don't have to go to the supermarket. And when the pandemic started, that was awesome to see how it was sustainable within this community. Just with everyone having their products. I even get my deodorant from a lady who makes like beauty products there, and it's
fantastic. Is do you live in a village? Do you live in a city? Where exactly in Alentejo?
So we live in between 2 villages, between Vila Nova de Mil Fontes and Porto Covo, and no big city nearby. And then all of these people, they are a bit from the region. But
when I mean villages, like disconnected houses, like one guy lives here, the other guy lives 500 meters away, and
you need a car, eh? When you live in Alentejo, you need a car.
That's a bike?
That is a bike. I do have an electric
strong legs
bike, but please tell the Portuguese government they need to do something about the road, because it's just suicide if I go with my electric bike on the road.
In Braga they did a great thing, because there's this movement, there's people complaining about lack of bike lanes and public transportation. So do you know what they did? They just on the normal roads, they just painted a tray and draw a bike to say, okay, now you can cycle here. But just in a normal road, like among the cars. I'm like, okay, thanks, I guess. Nice measure.
I can imagine
so,
that.
So yeah, there you have your cycle path right in the road.
Yeah.
Shut up.
No.
No,
we won't live around these villages, but yeah, unfortunately we need the car.
But I spotted you also, not only you said use a car, but you also use an electric bike. So that's double shame on you.
Yeah.
That's why you could be so much stronger in your legs.
Yeah.
That's weakness. No, just kidding. No, just kidding. So, but it's amazing that these kind of communities form, you know? Since also, again, going back to the disconnected topic, like we are so far away, and in the cities, we have this supply chain that we rely on so much. Like you go to the supermarket and that's it. If the supermarket closes, you don't have any food. You don't grow anything. You don't know anyone who grows anything. Mm-hmm. So to see these kind of communities emerge and helping each other and probably being more than just vegetable suppliers. Because I also realized that when I was in Coimbra for my PhD studies, I would always go to the market because I lived near the market. And it's completely different than going to the supermarket. Because in the market, or in the farmer's market, as it is said in English, it was just the people selling their vegetables. So you make a different kind of connection to them. And not only you know where the food is coming from, because that's also critically important, but you also look at food in a different way because I know the person that took care of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this happens to you, but for me, like I know this vegetable was raised by this lady and she's in front of me and she's giving me a hug or something. So I respect it more in a way. Like I try to prepare it more. I don't just throw it away. I try to use everything because it has some meaning to me. Mm-hmm. And I hope that our generation realizes and tries to progress more towards the importance of the community.
We need that. Yeah, we need that.
Also because at least I feel that people are starting to realize that the city life is not for everyone. Even though as more people come to the city, but I grew in a small city. Braga is not small, but maybe for European standards it is small. But my parents are from the countryside. So I've always had like deep roots in the countryside, and I've always seen firsthand how it's different. The people there are different, and the life there is different. And there you are somebody, and you are important, and people know you, and you know them. And whenever I would come to the city, you're just one more in a bunch of thousands. And to me, it never really clicked. Like I only click when actually, when I know the people around me, and I know them like on a personal level. And if you then add the food on top of that, if you add the cheese or whatever, the cosmetics, I think you just create even more layers of meaning into everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this is something that maybe the pandemic has woken up people to that, and then being isolated and understanding the importance of like good connections. And we also don't need that many connections, but we just need those few important ones, and we really need to understand the beauty of it.
So you're telling me I don't need 5,000 friends in Facebook to feel happy? I don't need to maximize my life. Yeah, but that's true. I think that's really true, because in the end we are profoundly social beings, and it's something hardwired in our brains to feel rewarded when someone tells us you're doing good, or when someone tells us I'm here for you, I'm here, you are not alone. If something happens to you, if your water fails, if you run out of food, you can come to my place and I will have a table for you. I think these are just small things that are everything it is about.
It's true. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting. I didn't want to leave you that words. So, you have this house, you have this this project. How can people go there? Can people book a place? Do you want them to?
Sure. We are a tourism, so like they call it in Portugal, alojamento local. And we rent out rooms, we rent out to families, we have our yoga retreats, we have events. We started doing last summer a concert in our garden.
Concert.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was amazing. Yeah, under the stars, like you said, under the Alentejo stars. We have dinner events where we cook with local organic ingredients. So yeah, people can for sure come. I also organize retreats on requests. Like even if like a group of friends, they say, okay, we want to learn how to surf, we want to do yoga, we organize that. Yeah, and people can also just come to the normal yoga classes.
Where can they find you? Like in Airbnb, in Booking? How can they get to you?
Yeah, we have Airbnb. That's the only platform that we use for the accommodation, and then we have our own website and Instagram and Facebook. So yeah.
What is your? Do you want to leave your Instagram tag?
Yeah.
Hashtag?
So it's Casa. You can put it in the podcast notes, but it's Casa Maono. Casa Maono is the name of the house, and then Yoga Maono is for the yoga classes.
All right, Nina.
The website is also easy. It's www.casamaono.com. Really easy.
All right, Nina. It was an honor for me to talk to you. It was a big pleasure. It was so much fun. And I hope you enjoyed also. And I also hope that not only you can grow your community, but also find your place and find your future, your path. So thank you very much for accepting to talk to me.
Thank you, André. I learned a lot of new things as well. And yeah, and I wish you all the best and more of these interesting, deep conversations. I think they're really important for us to grow.
Thank you. Bye, folks.
Thank you.
If you like this podcast, consider liking this episode and subscribing to help supporting me in this journey. Thank you.